I'm going to tell you about the Pro-Ject VC-S record cleaner machine. This is the Mark II version. The reason I'm making this is I watched a couple of videos about these before I bought this one, and there's a few bits that people didn't really explain that I could have done with knowing. The first thing I'm going to talk about before I talk about using it at all is what is a record cleaner machine not going to do for you. And the thing it's not going to do is take a record that is already damaged and make it sound better. So I bought some second-hand records that if they've got damage through groove wear, where it's had a damaged stylus playing it, it's got a big scratch across it, it isn't suddenly going to fill in the scratch, it isn't suddenly going to remove the sound of a damaged groove. So it can't do that. What it can do is a couple of really great things to make your record sound better, look better, and actually play better in the long run. Let's take you through the machine first of all, and probably the easiest way to do that is actually show it in action with a dirty record and show you just how good it is at cleaning that record. So the record we're going to have a go at cleaning is actually this. If you haven't got this album and you're a Frank Zappa fan, you definitely want it. Let's have a look at one of the records. So let's show you what's wrong with this record first of all. So if you have a look at that, you'll see it's absolutely covered in loads of dust, which you could remove some of it with a carbon fibre brush, but there's worse things on here than that. So there's some greasy finger marks around here. I don't know if you can see them. And there's also some marks around here, which almost looks like mould's been growing on it. And if I flip to this side, yeah, it's even worse. If you look around here, this mark here, I can't get it off my finger. Hopefully, our record cleaning machine is going to clean that up and get rid of some of the grease that's on here. Let's show you the parts of the machine before we put the record on though. So when I was looking to buy a record cleaning machine, this one retails about £350. The choice really is between this and the Noki Noki. The only real difference I think is probably the platter here. This one doesn't have a full platter, it only has one the width of the label. The advantage of that is your record when it's clean won't be sitting on a potentially dirty platter. That's the only reason really I went over for this machine over the Noki Noki, and it was a little bit cheaper as well. But let's see it in action. The parts you need to worry about is it has a goat's hair cleaning brush supplied. It comes with this to lock the record down with. That's the arm that's going to suck the fluid off when we've finished. You get supplied with the record cleaning fluid. So this is the wash it fluid. That needs to be watered down and put down into a ratio. They suggest of 20:1 to water it down with. Anything 21 and 10:1. I've gone for 15:1 myself. You do get given a bottle to do that mixing in. To actually apply the liquid, I've got a squeezy bottle I've used, which you'll see why I need that in a minute or two. And when you're doing the watering down, do not use tap water. Tap water contains dissolved minerals in it. Those are minerals that could potentially end up on your record when it's dry, so you don't want that. I haven't tried deionized water that you put in car batteries. That could still potentially contain some minerals. So I've played mega safe and gone for pure distilled water. This will have no residues in it whatsoever. It's absolutely perfect to put on your record. So I'd go for that every time personally. So our Frank Zappa record, let's try and get that clean, shall we? So the first thing to do is put it on the machine. So put it over the spindle. And then you lock it down with this. Two purposes: hold the record in place, but also it stops the label getting wet when you put the fluid on. There's two buttons on the side of here. This turntable can go in two directions, so I'll turn it on, and when you put the fluid on here that you've just mixed down, don't be afraid to put quite a lot on. When I first started, I put a tiny amount on. It didn't really cover the record, so you want to get a good squirt. So if we look at this a bit closer, that's a good squirt around there. Then you get your goat's hair brush and literally push the fluid all across the record until it is completely covered across all the grooves. And you can tell because it will turn a darker colour as you go. So that's across the whole record. Now, just to really get it in the grooves, I'm going to flip the switch in the opposite direction so we can reverse the turntable, which obviously pushes the record in a different direction. I'm going to clean that off with the brush again. Right. I normally leave this for about 30 seconds just to really let the fluid work into the grooves and dissolve any grease, grime, all those fingerprints we saw in here earlier. When it comes to drying this is what the arm's for. You move that across. This is going to get loud now because it is basically a vacuum cleaner. But it does pretty much clean the record in one rotation. So if you look at the record, you should see it get drier as I switch this on. I don't want to wait for the motor to die down before lifting that off. I don't like stopping this from rotating with that across in case it leaves a mark on the record. And that's one side done. Obviously, to do the second side, you just turn it over and repeat the process again. But if you take a look at this record now, you should see that looks virtually new. There's no fingerprints on it. All those kind of what I described as a bit like mould growing, that's all gone. That is shining clean. That looks like a brand new record, just about. So, cleaning dust and grime off, brilliant for that. The other thing that this is particularly good at is solving the problem that is our worst enemy as a record collector, and that is of static. I've never come across anything that cures the static problem so well. So I've got a record that I'm pretty certain is going to have this problem, so let's take a look. So if we look at down our batch record, I'm about to lift it off the turntable, so I'm going to stop that rotating. There's a felt mat underneath here, and that is stuck on the record because of the static. And if you listen, I'll go quiet. If you listen, you probably heard the crackle of static as I took that felt mat off. So let's see what effect the record cleaning machine has on the static on this record. So here's our record. Let's put it on the turntable on the cleaning machine. It's exactly the same process as before. Record on, let's put the clamp on top, which will keep our label dry and also hold the record in place. Once again, start it rotating. Good squirt of fluid on. Probably put a bit too much on this time, never mind, the hoover will get rid of that when it gets switched on. It does make it pretty easy to put the fluid across the record this time because I've got a bit carried away there. So I'm just going to leave that for a couple of seconds just for the fluid to do its job. Again, this is a new record, so there shouldn't be too much dirt on it, obviously. It's that static we're trying to get rid of. Once again, I'm going to clean the record, take the excess water off with the vacuum device. Take that off, stop the turntable going, release the clamp. Coloured vinyl, nice. And let's go and see if the static's gone. So let's just try that test again and put it back on the record deck. Start that going. I'm going to stop it, not really makes much difference, but absolutely no static whatsoever. That is brilliant. You won't find anything better to get rid of static from your records. So that's the Pro-Ject VC-S cleaning machine, the Mark II version.